Hello and welcome to the Tarkus Zone. Thank you for joining me. Tonight was the dev stream number 6 for RivenWorld, and it just got over. It was a longer dev stream this week. I think it went 2 hours, and I'm going to try to cherry pick the things that interest me in the video. I might miss a few things, so if you, as a person that is following this game, you could always find their live stream on their YouTube page. So let's get going. I'm just going to play this as I did in my previous videos, and we're just going to go through it. I'm going to, move through the video, and as they are doing stuff in the video, let me just pause that. Okay, so in the video, they had started the broadcast or the stream talking about fighting. They implemented the fighting mechanics of the game. And we'll see that in a minute. I want to go over a few things that I asked while they were going over this to get clarification on certain aspects of the fighting. Now, each armor slot is going to have its own hitbox. So if you got your chest plate, your gauntlets, your shoulder plates, then you got your leg plate and maybe boots, maybe gloves. So they're all going to have individual hitboxes. So when somebody hits you with a weapon, the item that gets hit is going to get damaged. And you'll have functions in the game to repair your stuff. That will be in the game. But if somebody whittles it down in a fight, I imagine at a point it breaks. And then the item is broken in your inventory. And it no longer actually helps you for defense. So you could get two people bashing the crap out of each other, and basically their armor starts disappearing off them. It's still probably going to be in your inventory to repair for later, but it's useless to you now because your opponent just knocked the crap out of it. So what that means is you can strategically maneuver yourself almost like a starship. Because if you fight on this side and the guy's taking this armor away, then you turn like shields on a starship. You turn your body in this direction and fight on this side. So you get, it's a one way of thinking. Because I also asked, can I put a shield on my back? And yeah, you could put a shield on your back and that will have its own hitbox. So what I could do is I could fight with a two-handed weapon. And then when I see something coming, I just turn my back to him and let the shield take it. And then I flip around and fight. And when I see something big come, I just turn around. And it's called the turtling maneuver. It's not a lot of games allow you to do it because not a lot of games think about it. A lot of times when you put a shield on your back, it's just what it looks like. It's not really on your back. It's not giving you any value unless it's in your hand. Most games are like that. If the shield is not here, then you get no value whatsoever. If it's in your inventory on your back, there's no value to it. It just looks pretty on your back. This game solved that problem. They're like, no, it's going to have a hitbox. You'll be able to do what I just call the turtling maneuver, where you can show your back to your opponent, especially if you're a coward, and Tarkus can be such sometimes, when he sees 80 people rolling up on him, he's standing there by himself. Tarkus is just not going to curl in a ball into a good place. He's going to run away, right? So that gives you some added defense if they're trying to hit you with ranged weapons. So it's really convenient. But I imagine the drawback to it is it's going to have some weight. So the game's going to have a weight system, obviously. So the weight system, you'll have to take in it. Do you ask yourself, do I wear the shield? A shield might weigh 30 pounds, let's say, or whatever it weighs. It might hinder your ability to move around. They are going to have stamina in this game. That's what I asked the question is it going to be stamina? And the stamina is going to be when running, jumping, and I'm imagining when you're fighting, there's stamina costs that are going to tick down. Because I imagine you're going to have to recover, you get your stamina down, and then, as your stamina goes down, you do less and less damage. So if my stamina is like, a 1, and I'm hitting the guy, but I'm not doing any damage, I have to back up, wait for my stamina to recharge, and then go back at it, and then, your stamina starts going back down as you do more maneuvering and running around. I asked about dodge. There's not going to be a dodge mechanic in the game, which is nice. because a lot of dodge mechanic games, if you dodge, you're basically in a position where you take no damage. I mean, there's games like that where you see a fireball coming in and the person dodges, and as long as they're in the dodge animation, they take no damage from the fireball. Well, that won't be the case here, guys. You'll have to actually get out of the way, or you're going to take it. So there's no dodge mechanic where you can use frame rates to be invincible. Now you see the arrows on the screen. It's basically showing you as the person attacking what your angle of attack is when you decide to attack. But the person on the other side can also decide to defend. So if they have a shield on them, they can see it coming and defend it accordingly. So it's a battle of skill. And I imagine your gear will have benefits. I imagine like in any a game that you have, there would be no point in not getting better gear if it wasn't going to be better for you, right? So I imagine gear is going to play a role, but skill is going to play a lot of the role too. I mean, you're going to need to be skillful at playing this game. It's not a tap targeting system like World of Warcraft where you spam a macro and your guy does everything in their toolkit, and that's not this type of game. You see the defense icons. So if you can defend yourself and tell the system what angle you want to defend in. So you have to do the combat yourself. It's going to require you to have some skill to do it. I mean, it's not going to be, the system's not going to do it for you. I mean, there are some games that I've seen like this that have an auto play button and you let the game AI control your character during a fight. But those have always been buggy as can be. People get mad that the AI is too stupid, and they get mad that the AI is too good, and so they've removed those from games. So now you've got to kind of do it yourself, especially like a game like this. You'll have to skillfully attack your opponent, and your opponent is going to be able to move out of the way and do blocking, as you can see here. So yeah, I mean, they hit this out of the park tonight. When I was anticipating seeing combat, this is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see the flow of it. And until we see the weapons themselves, the actual, all the weapons that they're thinking. I mean, the sword looks nice. Well, let's look at how the spear, how that is. Is it going to be this maneuver? Is a two-handed axe going to be over the shoulder, or is it going to be this way? Those kind of things I want to see too, but the core mechanics of the game, the battle parts of the game that they're displaying here is something I wanted to see, and I'm glad that they've done it the way they've done it. So now moving forward, it's the balancing of the weapons and the animation of those weapons when you use them is what we're going to see. If it's there were some games that when you used a spear, it actually wasn't a jab, you actually threw it. So you just pulled it back and you threw it, and then you had to go retrieve it if you wanted to use it again. But this game, the spear could just be jabbing at somebody. So I don't know how they're going to do it, or maybe there's a way that you can throw any weapon at somebody. That you hit a button, you hit the G button, and that puts it in throw mode. And then you just throw whatever you got in your hand, you can throw at somebody. Just a Hail Mary. Let's say you're trying to demount somebody from their horse, and you've got a sword in your hand. Well, a Hail Mary shot, you go into throw mode, and you throw that sword, and you hope for the best, and maybe you knock the guy off. But then you got to go retrieve it, right? I mean, you got to go find it if you miss. I mean, that's another way of looking at it. So this is so we'll go beyond the battling here. I was quite happy. I was quite happy. They hit this one out of the park tonight when showing us the combat. These guys are running around the woods here, and I asked him how big is the map, and I think he took that as a challenge to go run the entire map. Needless to say, the map's large. It's big. Their developers thinking. The developer's not thinking as a player, because when he gets to this mountain, he's trying to he's trying to get around the mountain. I'm thinking, dude, you've got admin privileges. Just build a ramp. You can go anywhere you want. You want to go to heaven? Build a damn stairway to heaven if that's what you want. You know what I mean? Get the guitar out. Build me a stairway to heaven. I mean, he could have done it, and so I had to mention to him, you have that function that you can build your own block, so just go over the mountain, don't go around it. So they showed that. They showed the animals. They don't have an AI yet. They didn't attack the animals at any particular point. So I imagine they don't have hit points and there's no death for them yet. But the modeling's there. I mean, they look okay. They re-showed these doors again, and they talked about the permissions on the doors, and they did that right too. You'll be able to put permissions on the door, and they're going to have a wheel kind of. When you click on it, there'll be a wheel, and you'll just choose. And I think he said there was 3 permissions. There was a owner permission, there was a public permission, and there was a guild permission. I think he's maybe a friend. I don't know if this has a friend system or not. If that's what they're considering a guild. Is if you want somebody be a friend, you have to be in your guild. I don't know. Maybe they have a friend system in the game so that the permission would also be friend. So if your friend's not in your guild, because I've had that where I had a friend that was my friend, obviously, but he was in another guild. And him and I would do stuff together in the world. And then when his guild was on, he would go do raiding with them. So I wasn't in his guild, but I was still his friend. So having permissions to open doors and open boxes from your friends is a good option too. I mean, I don't remember if they said that. I think they said they may just had 3, guild, private, or public. So we're going to go forward here. They did some of the building. We saw this in the last video. There was a question I had. Can you do free block? Because I also had I'll explain free block in a sec. I had a thought in my head that if I built a building, right, and it's 3 stories high, and I have a group of people come out and take the foundation out, will the whole building collapse down? And in this game, that's a no. The building would float. So, so then don't have a structure system in the game. So what it is, I mean, when you have structure systems in a game, there's sometimes a problem with that because somebody would just go around and knock the foundation out, and then they topple the whole building by toppling the foundation. At least with this that's not the case, where if they really want to get to where they're going in your house, they're going to have to systematically destroy blocks, not just the ones below it. So I said to him, could I build a starship? So imagine me building a Klingon warbird in the air, making it look like a Klingon ship. And that's my base. So, yeah, I mean, it would take, and this is that radial that they were going to show. This will have permissions where you'll be able to choose the permission of the door. So, I'll have an initial stairway. I'll have to make this cool stairway, and I'll probably come off the side of a mountain, right? Come up the side of a mountain. Then from there, because it's free floating build, I just have to go block by block and build myself a starship. And then build the interior of the ship to look like the actual ship in the movies, a Klingon ship. And that would be cool, right? I mean, and then if someone wants to raid me, they'll have to either use a stairway that I built to get up there, or they'll have to build their own stairway to get to me. And that's kind of cool. But the other thing about it is, I thought, is because they told us tonight that when you destroy a block that belongs to you, you get all of it back. So if I make a mistake in the game and I was like, I don't want that block there, I can delete the block, I get the block back. So I build this ship up there, right? And then before I log off at night, I just delete half the stairwell. And then nobody can get to my ship unless they build the stairwell. You know what I mean? But I don't know if I can claim the air. I didn't ask about that. Will it let me? Will I have to claim the land below it? Because if I claim the land below it, do I own the land that goes all the way up to space? How, I mean, I guess that would be the question I should have asked was, how do I claim the area, the space, if I want to build this thing? Or will it be based on where it's attached to the ground if I have that there? I should have probably asked that, how that would work. Because I did say, well, geez, if I wanted to build a ship in the sky, can I do that? And they're like, yeah. But the question being is, will I be able to claim, will that work with the claim system? Because if it doesn't, they talked about the degrade system tonight, that if it's not on claim land, the system will degrade it, and then you'll either need to repair it. I mean, that would be the other option. I build this ship in the sky and I'm repairing it all the time just to keep it up there. I mean, it's just some things I was thinking. I was thinking to myself, well, that would be pretty cool if I had my own server and I just was building UFOs in the sky, you know, bases that were UFOs in the sky. But again, it comes down to how that will work with the claim system. I'll have to ask that question the next time I am on with them. Okay, let's forward here a little bit. Yeah, this is where he decided he wanted to go over the mountain instead of going around it. And you can see with the block defaults its rotation and its default. So when you're doing the stairs, every time he puts a stair down, he has to rotate it twice. Put it down, rotate it twice. Put it down, rotate it twice. And what they need to do is have it set for the last rotation. So when you rotate those stairs like that, the system remembers that rotation. And then when you go to generate the next stair, it's in that last rotation. So you can just go plug, 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 plug without having to turn the asset around every time you want to make your stair. I mean, you think about how quick this person would have been able to do get up this mountain if he didn't have to stop and pause and twirl that asset every single time. All right, we're going to keep on going here. Running through the trees there. It's dark here. All right, so they got to building some structures in the game, and they did see, and they're doing the right thing here with getting guys on their platform and building objects in their world. Now, I've spoke about this before. Everybody thinks differently. That's what makes us all unique. So having one person on the server that's doing their own thing and another person on the server doing their own things give you very fruitful results when it comes to bug testing your game. And we're going to see that in this video tonight, that somebody thinks like I do. How do you break the system and how much advantage can you take out of the system? And that's the way Tarkus likes to play games, is I try to figure out or manipulate as much assets as I can to my advantage, but you need the balance. Is it a bug or is it a feature kind of thing? But by tweaking things out like that, then the developer needs to make the determination that, yeah, Tarkus did that. That's kind of squirrely. It gives him too much an advantage and we got to change the mechanic. That's fine with Tarkus because that's the whole point of developing the game. And we're going to see later on here where you start stacking fireplaces. And if the fireplaces can't be destroyed, currently they can't be destroyed, then somebody could just rope off the starter area with fireplaces, sealing to the gods with fireplaces, and anyone that joins the server would be locked into the area because they couldn't get through the fireplaces. I mean, those are the kinds of things. I mean, there was a game that I did that. The person had free build on. The admin put free build on before they went to bed, and Tarkus went around to the world and put walls around every NPC in the world. And then when they came back on, nobody could get to the NPCs because Tarkus had walled them all off. And the guy's like, well, why'd you do that? I said, well, why'd you leave free build on? I said, you're going to need that's just ridiculous. And it was a lesson to the admin. Don't leave free build on because you're going to have somebody like this do this. And it was like, and so what I told him, I said, just bring up last night's backup. Obviously your server's backing up. And he's like, oh, I haven't been backing the server up. I said, oh, so you don't have any backups? I assumed that when you got up in the morning and saw what I did and you'd say, oh crap, I better not do that again. Let me back the server up from when I went to bed. They didn't have backup, so I really hosed the server, and that was not my real intention. My intention was to say, look, You know, I walled these things off that people need to use, and your game mechanics allowed me to do it because you left free build on. So it's raining in the game. They're going to have cloud cover when it's raining. I did mention that tonight, that I noticed that it was raining a lot, but it looked like it was a bright, beautiful day, and there's no cloud cover kind of work in here. All right, so let's go further in the video. They did some more building. The buildings were better tonight. When he started building this building, I was just thinking of a Jedi's house. And the reason why I thought about that was because in Star Wars Galaxies, well, you look at it just like that. If you've ever played Star Wars Galaxies, when you look at that house, you think Luke Skywalker lives there. Most of the guys in that game built houses similar to this design, and it really told you a Jedi lived there. And they deliberately did it because Jedis are pretty badass in the game. And so it was like a warning. Instead of putting up the beware of dog sign, they would build a house that looked like that. And you'd be like, oh my God, I'm on the land of a Jedi. And you don't want to be, because the Jedis on that game could be really nasty, and they were almost impossible to kill. They were real players who had earned the rank, and they had spent months and months and months grinding what they needed to do to become Jedis. They were uber powerful in that game. And that's how they did it. Is if I wanted to tell people that a Jedi owned the land, don't mess with me, I built my house similar to what he had started building there. It was a badge of honor. And we used to give the bounty hunters crap because they would build houses that looked like the Jedi houses, and they first did it to mock the Jedi, because the bounty hunters in that game were pretty powerful too. They were like the only people that could kill the Jedi, so it was really cool. So they're building. I talked about healing in the game. When you rest, you will get your hit points back. You'll have potions and bandages that allow you to heal yourself. So you'll have that. I don't know if there's an actual healing class in the game. I didn't ask about that, like a cleric. I'm assuming not, because I don't think they're going fantasy here. I think they're trying to go real world kind of mechanics. So I'm not sure if there will be healers in the game. They did talk about add on later that once they get the PvP environment done, that they're thinking of adding dungeon crawling layers to the game, where teams can go out and tackle dungeons, teams can go out and tackle content. I asked about questing. I mean, I guess they're hoping to have a story mode, campaign mode, but they want to do that after the PvP mode. So that's smart. That's smart, because you get your PvP guys to really test your system, and then you bring that system into a campaign world, and then you bring newer players to your game, because your PvPers will play this game right out of the box, and I think they're going to love it. I don't think coming out campaign first is a smart way of going. I've seen so many games come out with the campaign, and the player base just dives because there's not enough campaign content. Because PvP always brings new content every day, because you never know what you're going to do and what you're going to get and who you're going to be dealing with in the world. So that's always new content. But when it comes to people that like games that have a beginning and an end, a storyline, those people do the storyline and they never come back to the game, and you lose those people. So doing it after the fact is nice, because then they get used to the game, and then your PvPers can start recruiting, saying, look, I know you're playing the story, but now that you know the game, why don't you come join us on the PvP side? All right, so let's keep on going. They were talking about these stairs. They've got some polishing to do when it comes to how assets can be flipped and how the assets are pinned together. And like a campfire, you should not be able to stack campfires on top of each other. So you need to make assets that can't be placeable on top of each other. He actually made a pretty good fire pit. That was back there. Maybe we'll see it again. So he starts making this. See how he put the fireplaces on the blocks? That's pretty cool, because those are right now the only light sources. I know they had said that they worked on the oil lamps, but we did not see those oil lamps in this stream tonight. So they did these fireplaces to give that effect that you'll be able to see it from a distance. They did pretty good. I mean, they did a lot of building. They talked about some building mechanics. They they built this monument here, and it reminded me of the cartoon Milan, where they try to tackle to the top, because he's at the top of the thing, and they try to get to the top where he's at, and he parkoured his way up there by just jumping on the little niblets there that are coming out, which is pretty ingenious. But that shows you what you can do with the game. Now, with all that said, they said that they want to try to do a beta, closed beta. I think I don't remember the date, in a couple weeks, and they said you should go to their Discord to sign up for that, because they'll have that available, and they're hoping to do like a building contest, a contest where you build whatever you build, and then somebody decides which one's got the better building. And what that does is it allows them to see capacity. It allows them to see if people are going to break things, and they're going to see also what people's imaginations are going to try to do, manipulate with the blocks that they have. And then it's also going to allow them to hear from people what blocks they need. Because that's the other key thing with builders is I like to build things, and it doesn't take me long to know what pieces I'm missing. Now, I mentioned roofs tonight, and I got a kind of a, like, are we going to put roofs in here? You got to put roofs, thatched roofs in, or even barn board roofs, like thin roofs that are like this. So when you spin them, they're at an angle. So they're basically they're a block that's squished at an angle, and then you place them as an angle so that you could do like a mead hall Viking style house if you wanted. So you could put a piece here. I could put a piece here. I could put it so it's a elongated roof like Viking style. But it would need to be, and you can do it out of thatch. You can do like forging the thatch, and you got to make it, on the lumber mill. And you need thatch, and you need maybe pine syrup or whatever you want, and then you make the roof, and then you place it just like you place a normal block. And then if they wanted a barn board roof, then you need a bunch of lumber, and then you make it into a barn board roof. And it's just a tile that's at this angle that's thin, that allows you to get that peak look. Because the way they done it here is they've used the stairs, and the stairs just look, it looks Minecrafty. And I guess if that's what they're going for, Minecrafty, that's fine. But I'd rather have some actual roofs. When you talk about aesthetics in a game, you don't want every house to look the same, because then you just get a meta. Everything looks the same. It's all these same houses, same roof styles. And, you need to be able to have some sort of personalization other than what you built, some other personalization. Oh, Tarkus likes to use the thatch for the color, or he likes to use the barn board because that's red and that's colored, or it's got a texture to it. That was what I was thinking is I see a lot of blocks, and I'm just hoping that they do some thinner, even the blocks being thinner, so I can just make a wall. Maybe it just has less hit points. That's the thing is, if I decide to do a full block, that's got 1,000 hit points, and if I do a half block, meaning I want a thin wall, that's only got 500 hit points. So if I want to build my house with thinner walls, then I got a paper house where people will be able to go right through it. That would be my choice, but at least the house, the interior will look better, I think. It's just some options, I guess. So yeah, they did some foraging. And this is where they made the fire pit stack. And as you can see, they did look like bones to me. At a distance, they looked like bones, which was pretty cool. So you've the Impaler. So I'll just put a bunch of these around my property, and then hopefully nobody comes on my property. I did talk about trophies for your house. I talked about placeables. You gotta have some placeables for people in their houses, like tables, because people like to do it if they have a guild meeting, they want to sit at a table, chairs that you can sit on, and you would make those in an artisan table. You'd have to get the components to make them, and that I think that, and obviously they talk about the respawn, where if you respawn, you'll respawn back to your bed once you've made it. And if you don't have once you make a bed, you can bound yourself to it. So when you die in the world, you go to the bed. If you don't have the bed, you'll go to the first starting town, which is the church. So if you ever die in the world, that's where you'll end up going. So if your house is 1,000,000 miles away, when you die, you'll have to run or use your horse to get all the way. Oh, I imagine you won't have your horse because you're dead, right? So your horse is probably going to be where your body was. I don't know how they're going to do the horses in this game. I mean, obviously, I think they're a persistent asset, meaning that it's not like something you summon, where if I got a horse in the game, it's there. So if I got off the horse and I die, the horse is still there, right? So I got to go all the way back to him to retrieve him. So you want to make sure that you bind your spawn or your, and they talked about binding your spawn point to different shrines. So if you come up to a shrine, you know you're going to be in that general area, then you can bind to that shrine. So when you die, you don't have to go all the way back to town. But my suggestion would be is get a bed as soon as possible and make yourself a little building and bind to it. And then this way, and at least bind to it where you know you're going to be questing. I asked about caves. Caves would be neat in this game. I think it would add some flavor to the game if people were able to take over a cave structure of the cave, and so you only have to put the fascia on the cave, and then you can just do what you want in the cave, like live underground. I don't think that would be too hard for them to implement some random caves every once in a while. You even could put some bears in it, right? So put some bears where you have to earn it. Like you go in there and there's a bear in there, and you got to kill the bear to take over the, to take over the cave. I don't know what they would do with the spawn of the bear. If it would just keep on spawning in your house, or there would just be a mechanism that if there's a playable claim right there, if it's a claim that's claimed, the bear doesn't spawn. I don't know how you would do it, but I thought caves would be neat. I thought holes, but if they had deep mine shafts, because there was a game where we used to live in a mine shaft. And it was in the world. So basically, to get down there, you had to like parkour your way down there. And then you got to the bottom, but there was really nothing there. But once we built stairway all the way up to the top, we capped the top, and we basically lived in a huge well, basically, this way. And so you'd have to, it was like having a tower, but it was in the ground. And the designers of the games had said it was an old mine shaft that there were these large mine shafts, and you could live in them, but there were also nodes in there too. So that mine shaft, I think, had platinum that we wanted. So we basically owned the shaft, and that also meant we owned the platinum, but we lived in the shaft, and it worked out. It was a cool way of playing the game. So, and you do have people that like the dwarf kind of mechanics where when they go voxel, that won't be a problem. When they go this game voxel, then people can just dig as many caves as they want and live in the mountain, right? And never come out. I think they did well tonight showcasing the game. We saw a lot of new stuff. We saw it function correctly. We saw some things break correctly, in a way where they broke to a point where we notice a problem, but not to a point where the server crashed, right? So when I say a good braking mechanism, we saw that tonight. They broke it. We saw it got broke. They know how to fix it, and they just kept on moving on. And there was a couple spots in the stream tonight where that happened. It's like, oh, really? Were you able to do that? Well, you shouldn't be able to do that. We'll have to fix that. Now, let me just minimize this here real quick. I'm just going to go over the questions that just quickly to see if I missed something. I asked about traps and defensive AIs for your base. They talked about having a trebuchet or ballistae that you'll be able to have on your base to help protect it. I asked cave mines. I told them to build a ramp. And you can repair from the decay. I got that. Oil trenches. I did mention that for like the PvP part of it. Can I run the shield? It looks like I covered most of the questions that I had, and I think I brought the information forward that they were talking about, the key elements they were talking about tonight, that they have a fighting system. They talked about the claim system. how they've decided to do that, and I'm very happy with what they decided to do. So I think anyone else that comes to this game is going to find that the land claiming system makes sense. You'll be able to claim the land. It will belong to you indefinitely unless you wish to give it up to the guild. And if you find that you're no longer in good standings with the guild can anytime just attack your house, remove the shrine, and boot you out. And this way you're not giving up your land. They need to fight you for it if it comes down to that. Or it could be you have the land, you gave it to the guild, and they don't want you around, and you just pack your crap up and leave, and that's just the way it is. I mean, it is what it is. It's too bad that type of stuff happens, but it's always always unfortunate when guildies get into an argument to a point where they want to leave a guild, and there's animosity. It's tough. I mean, video games are tough when it comes to guild management, membership management, because again, everyone's different. All right, I think I did it. I did it justice tonight to tell in my video that they didn't break the game. They didn't show anything to me that that made me think, well, geez, maybe I won't buy this game. Actually, I'm more excited about it coming out, and I'm more excited about buying it now. And I think everybody else will be too. So they're going to be having an open, closed beta. I don't know if I signed up for it or not. I'll have to go to Discord and see if I did that or not, because I definitely want to get my hands on it. Definitely want to try to build something. I definitely want to see if I can break the system, because everybody knows how if you watch my channel enough, you can see that in many games I build items and I make some amazing different things with my artistry, but I always can find mechanics that can be broken. And once they're recognized, then they can be fixed, right? I mean, unless it's a feature. Maybe they have a block that is invisible, and then you put that in front of people's houses, and they're like, I can't get in my house. Well, there's an invisible block there. I mean, that's a feature. That would be a big bug, really. All right. Well, that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining me. This has been the Tarkus Zone.